The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Podcast. It's another edition of The Big Issue, your most reliable platform, most reliable daily program where you always get tips of issues around the country that are of grave national importance. And of course, without taking much of your time, because I can see we are a bit behind schedule, we will quickly go into the issues in the news before we now delve into the big issue of the day, which is the National Assembly and the furore over Tinubu's 500 billion naira palliatives. As usual, I'm your regular host. George Agba is my name, and of course, with me here in the studio is one of our very in-house, vibrant analyst. James Quinn is the name. You're welcome to the studio, James.
Thank you, Mr. George.
Well, for the issues in the news, we have reps walks lawmaker out of the Green Chamber for improper dressing. A lawmaker in the House of Representatives was on Wednesday sent out of the chamber for improper dressing. The lawmaker, who is a newly elected member, entered the chamber casually, dressed in red t-shirt and brown trousers. He walked in and took his seat at the upper gallery of the temporary chamber of the House when the House was almost rounding off the proceeding for the day. While one of his colleagues in the House, Honorable Billy Osuagu, raised a point of order, drawing the attention of Speaker Tajudeen Abbas to the lawmakers' improper dressing. Osuagu noted that the lawmakers' dressing was in contravention of the House dressing code, and immediately the Speaker's attention was drawn to the members' very poor dressing mode. He was immediately sent out of the Green Chamber. Then, this is an issue that had trended online in the social media. Most Nigerians have been raising issues about it. And what has dressing got to do with effective legislation? Although, number one, instead of sending the lawmaker out, one would have considered that the man is even a newly elected lawmaker. Don't forget that during the election, they say that an Okada rider who was driving machine on the road, when his name was announced that he won election into the House of Representatives, or was it the State House of Assembly, through Labour Party. Perhaps casually he put his name there and they now brought him there thinking that, let's see how it will go. He was not even interested. He was even doing his Okada business when they announced his name that he won the election under the platform of people. Such a person coming into the House, you know very well that it will take him time to now settle to the reality that he's now a honorable member of the House. So I wouldn't have seen a situation where a lawmaker will be sent out of the House because of improper dressing. Was he half-nakedly dressed? Did he wear a boxer to the Green Chamber? I think what we saw was a t-shirt and a jean to match. Was that enough? Except maybe they will say he came at a time when the plenary was almost, and from what we have seen here. But if it is dressing, what has it got to do with effective legislation, which Nigerians have always been yearning about? I think that is the criticism out there for the House of Representative action of sending that lawmaker out. What do you think about this, James?
Okay, first of all, thank you, George. It's a valid point raised anyway, but the House or members of House of Representatives or members of the Parliament are lawmakers. As lawmakers, it is expected that they should not be law breakers, because quite often Nigerians or the constituents out there see the lawmakers as law breakers, not keeping to their own procedure, because we are in a country where many institutions don't keep to their procedure or what could be called modus operandi.
Operandi.
So the modus operandi of the National Assembly, it is in their order book, order and rules book, because the whole business that takes place on the floor of National Assembly is all dependent. It is dependent on the rules, how they operate there, and in the rules, lawmakers are to dress just like in any corporate organization. Even where we are, one has to dress business-like. That is a statement in many appointment letters.
So dress corporate.
Yes, dress business. So the National Assembly too now has in their code, particularly the House of Representatives, let me restrict to the House of Representatives their rules, that even if you are dressing the English wear, the emphasis is on suits. And the suits, there's another key aspect about it. You must knot your tie. You must knot your tie. You don't just wear suit, wear blazers, fly the shit.
And then just fly one one shirt inside and then put one necklace around your neck.
I hope you're not referring to my necklace.
No, I know, no. You're properly dressed. The necklace is on top of your traditional wear.
So what is there is that they are demanded or restricted by the house rules to put on a tie even when you dress in English wear or suit. And then even when you dress in a traditional attire, be it from any part, because we dress here traditionally based on our regions, based on our states, and where we come from. So even in such a situation, you must put a cap to match. It is specific in the house rules. And so when the lawmaker came in, almost at the twilight of plenary on that day, a lawmaker, his fellow colleague, Honorable Billy, from Edo State, looked at it and raised a point of order. And his point of order was that, hey, this is how we are told to dress, or this is how we should dress, according to our rules. But here comes a man who dressed in t-shirts and jeans to match. Almost like as if one was going to a club or going to a relaxation center or to a garden. So that was a point of order. And it is now based on the procedure, the code of conduct, so to put it. And whether the lawmaker was aware or not, we know that for more than a week or 2 weeks, the taxpayers' resources were used for training those lawmakers. That is why we have the National Institute of Legislative and Democratic Study (NEEDS), which is almost a university standard, because I learned now they offer programs up to PhD in partnership with normal conventional universities. It's just like the NDA or any of these institutions that exist. So those people are trained. They are told how to do everything. And the house is ordered. That is why even the way the speaker sits is also ordered. Even the way motions are voted on is also ordered. So it's not just free to air of a stuff.
Well, James, thank you, because it's very good Nigerians are educated about it, and perhaps that was why the House took that drastic action against the lawmaker, in spite of the fact that he was a newly elected member. If it was a ranking member, it would have been a different case, because most Nigerians are of the view that even the man who reported him, his action smacks of unnecessary busybody and what in the local balance they would describe as afternoon bad belly to see your colleague. Instead of you walking up to him and whisper to him that next time don't just say this, remember, it is not allowed. Hide yourself, let them not see you. He quickly stood up and now brought they drew the attention of the House to the lawmaker who was sanctioned in that manner. But most Nigerians are saying that whatever the case is, they have never seen the House sending a lawmaker out for sleeping while the plenary is on, or for not actually at least moving even one motion. But there are lawmakers here that will not move even one motion until their tenure of 4 years expires. That such sanctions have not been put place on them. What is more important is just about addressing. But whatever the case, since it's something that's embedded in the rules of the house, let's just agree that yes, he was punished properly for not doing the right thing.
Okay, George, can I chip in quickly?
Okay.
The lawmaker, the story out there that the lawmaker was walkout, I think is what is known as journalists. It was a sort of a journalist, a way of reporting. Because why that motion? Yes, why the point of order was being raised, and even before the speaker sustained the point of order, the man was already staging the walkout. So not as if sergeant at arms, those who maintain the internal security, and say that, hey, leave here, move. If you don't move, I move you, as it is common with Nigerian police. And another thing is that there is a complicity on the part of lawmakers and those of sergeant at arms, the internal security or the internal police of the National Assembly. Because they were supposed to restrict the man not going into the chambers. But of course, the man too will come back there. Don't you know about honorable member? Of course. Why would you stop me from going to the chambers? So that is where the complicity is on both parts. Or maybe the man solely wants to stage a kind of a drama. Because for him to feign ignorance, except if, but virtually even lawmaker, except, I can't remember precisely a court order allowing a lawmaker or a court order, a lawmaker who came there through court order on the day of inauguration, before or even after inauguration. So this lawmaker in question, because he's new in the house, and even reporters within the house, because he's new in the house, his name was not too, he was not well recognized not a popular person. And even the way he dressed, even the way his dress was somehow disguised. So one cannot lightly call him out. So that is that.
Well, thank you, James. That is all for today when it comes to issues in the news. But before we dive into the big issue, we will quickly take a short break so that we do some announcements. And when we come back, we are going to discuss one big issue that has become a point of outrage before Nigerians. Don't go offline. We'll be back in a moment.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
You're welcome back. We are still on the Big Issue in Leadership podcast. And of course, without taking much of a time in it, we're going to the big issue of the day. And of course, today's big issue is a very vexing issue, still on the National Assembly. And it borders on the approval of President Bola Tinubu's 500 billion naira request for palliatives. Well, the president asked the House of Representatives to approve 500 billion naira to be spent on palliatives to mitigate the effect of fuel subsidy removal. The President, in a letter read by the Speaker of the House, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, on Wednesday, sought to extract 500 billion naira to mitigate the effect of the removal of subsidy, which is actually biting her. Nigerians have actually bear the brunt of the hardship, with most of them parking their cars, going on these main roads of Abuja. You see the roads are empty, unlike where we always have traffic issues. The roads are always free now because most Nigerians have just decided to park their car because of the high cost of fuel. And the President sought to extract 500 billion naira from the 2022 supplementary budget. It will be recalled that Nigeria is still operating the 2022 supplementary budget of 819 billion that was passed on December 2022. And Tinubu said a right to request an amendment to the 2022 Supplementary Appropriation Act in accordance with the attached. The request has become necessary in order to, among other things, source funds to provide palliative to mitigate the effect of the recent removal of fuel subsidy. Thus, the sum of 500 billion naira has been extracted from the 2022 supplementary budget of 819 billion for the provision of palliative. I hope the House will consider these requests expeditiously. Well, it is not just about the approval of this money for the palliatives, it is about how that money will be used. And it has been calculated that that money will see about 12 million households getting 8,000 naira monthly for the next 6 months. And Nigeria say, how? What has that got to do with the 12 million naira households? That would have been a situation where we see the federal government coming up with very, very developmental projects, pump money into the economy, and try as much as possible to address the issue of inflation and the high cost of food items. But the idea of just targeting just 12 million households and giving them 8,000 naira monthly for the next 6 months is like taking no action at all. And James, that is the problem. Nigerians are worried about that 500 billion naira palliatives. And the House went ahead to approve it. Or the National Assembly as a whole, because I think the Senate did not do different. And then the worst of it all is that out of that 500 billion naira, report has it that the National Assembly lawmakers will share a whopping 70 billion or 80 billion naira among themselves from the palliative. And this is what Nigerians are saying. And I quote one of them on the social media. He said, big men don't give a damn about the plight of the poor. See how Tinubu gave 80 billion naira to National Assembly members to share as their own palliative, and another 30 billion naira, not sure of the exact amount anyway, to NJC to share. You are living in animal farm. Monkey they walk, baboon they chop. This is how somebody put it on the social media. So you see the anger. 12 million households getting 8,000 naira every month for the next 6 months. And the lawmakers getting a whopping 80 billion naira to share among themselves. This is alarming. It is worrisome. James, what do you think about it?
Okay, thank you, George. I think a little brief background suffices here. The House of Representatives, just like the letter stated, the letter came in from the president on Wednesday. And as the president requested for expeditious consideration and approval, being an appropriation bill which is in existence, because the 2022 supplementary budget, which has been extended for more than 2-3 times, In fact, before the exit of the 9th Assembly, they extended it to December. So the 2022 Supplementary Appropriation Act lasts as long as December 31st. And the total sum there was 819 billion. Then the 819 billion, and I also want to call attention that that money was capital, it was for capital expenditure. It was not just for, it was for capital expenditure, distributed amongst ministries like agriculture, works, to tackle flooding, FCT for critical infrastructure within the Federal Capital Territory. So why the money is still there? Now the present administration has removed fuel subsidy. And after the removal of fuel subsidy, there have been repeated calls for provision of palliatives. That was why the president now sent a letter to the House of Representatives requesting for the approval to extract. I don't want to go into the technicality of calling it environment, but just to remove the money from the 819 billion which was in existence, which has been appropriated for before, and to take care of palliatives. So the bill came through first reading. That is on Wednesday. It's expected that was when it was transmitted to the National Assembly. The bill came through first reading on Thursday, went through second reading, went through another process of consideration at the Committee of Supply, approved and read for third reading. That is all the processes that at times takes like 3 months or 4 months
but
for a bill.
Can you imagine this particular bill? It was just a matter of days. The bill was expeditiously approved as requested by the president. That is why most Nigerians are saying that that was speedily passed by the House because they have 80 billion naira to share from it.
Sorry. I will go to that.
It's all right.
I don't want to follow it gradually. And for those who watched the proceedings of yesterday, it was not because the present National Assembly, there was excitement out there at the end of the 2023 general election with opposition put together in the House amounting to 182 or thereabout, leaving the ruling All Progressive Congress with 178. Nigerians were rejoicing that we now have the number of opposition to resist certain things or excesses from the executive. But while paraphrasing, there are exact words of the minority leader, the supposed Right Honorable Kingsley Chinda from Rivers State, the minority leader. In his exact words, he said the bill be passed with speed of light. To him, he praised it to high heaven that it was timely because the legislature too called for palliatives and it was humanly. Of course, a caution was thrown. For instance, Right Honorable Benny La, a People's Democratic Party's lawmaker from Plateau State, called for setting up of legislative ad hoc committee to monitor implementation. The minority leaders too said this money should not just be given out as handouts, but they should be implemented through healthcare services, education, reduction of school fees, things like electricity bills,
and management of inflation, so that it can reduce the high cost of
Nigeria.
Yes.
Then that was how it all passed. And on the same day too, the sum of $800 million US dollars was a letter was sent to the House of Representatives.
I think that is what that one is from. Is it World Bank or IMF?
No, it's from World Bank. And I learned the Senate gave the approval yesterday. The House of Representatives, at the end of plenary yesterday, was yet to give approval to it, but we know that they will definitely do it. They are coming to the controversy surrounding 70 billion. First, the explanation I can offer, best as I understand, I'm not standing in for the National Assembly anyway, but from my understanding of the whole thing, there was or there is 819 billion in place. Out of these 819 billion, 500 billion has been reappropriated, or let me, yes, reappropriated,
Yes.
because the Appropriation Act has been amended. So 500 billion goes to that. Then there are other components of the amendment, to the amendment, because this is a law that was in existence, signed already by the president. So part of the amendment was that 70 billion was put for National Assembly support services. Yes. In fairness to them, and wanting to hear from them from the horse's mouth, because they are the horses. Whether they are putting up defense or whatever thing, they regarded it as a fact. Like the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Barrister Benjamin Kalu, explained. He said the money was for National Assembly infrastructure. Because up till now, you go to National Assembly, you hear of leaking roof here and there, here and there, here and there. Then the other money that went to National Judicial Service Commission too was out of that. Is if you subtract 500 billion from the 819 billion, that one, from our understanding or what we get to know, is that the 5 billion for palliatives is untouched. It is the remainder.
The remainder,
Yes.
out of the
819
70 billion for the legislature, and the 30 billion or so
30 billion for
the
NGC,
judiciary.
NGC,
Those ones will
the
still
other
come,
money for FCT,
will come
like 10
separately
billion.
from the 800 without the 500
Yes,
naira,
yes.
naira being touched.
Okay, simple arithmetic. That is, we are left with 319 billion. So it is out of the 319 billion that has been reappropriated.
I understand. I think that is where there is a disconnection, and Nigerians didn't understand. The thinking was that, from the 500 billion,
No, not at all.
Money
Not at all.
But then, that is even enough. The idea that this money will be shared between 12 million households is what most Nigerians. How adequate would that be, James, for a family of 5? That money cannot last for 2 days, I can tell you. Considering the cost of living, considering the skyrocketing increase in food items and the rest, that 8,000 naira for a month to 12 million households each for 6 months will just be a waste. That is where Nigerians are even worried about.
Okay, I expect the federal government to come out with a robust program from the subsidy palliatives. There's nothing wrong. Government is a continuity. Why not go back and pick the subsidy reinvestment program, Shopee, under former President Goodluck Jonathan?
Thank you very much.
And bring it back so that we have Shopee boxes. We have people. In fact, John, it will interest you that I was also an employee on a Shopee. Yes, I was also an employee on a Shopee. Though the 20,000 naira then at the end of the month, if you look at the level of inflation then in 2000 and thereabout, it was something reasonable.
Manageable.
Yes, manageable. But the 8,000, honestly, for those of us living in Abuja, anyway, they classify them. They say that poor and vulnerable. Maybe vulnerable to the extent that there are people that may not be going out to transport themselves from one place to the other, except if it is that, or else. You and I know how much 8,000 can fuel car for you in a day. Yes.
Even half a tank.
Yes. No, we're not talking about tank. We're talking about food that can take you from your house to work and take you back conveniently. 8,000. So the money, as National Assembly, like the minority that was saying, it should be channeled towards other places. It should not be handouts. The 800 million that the federal government wants to take from the World Bank for social safety network program, which will be going to households, 12 million households for a period of 6 months, expecting that at the end of the day, about 60 million 60 million people will be empowered, and there will be, there will be wealth creation and all whatnots.
Well, you see, you've just spoken the minds of Nigeria, because most Nigerians, what they feel is that the Tinubu administration is leading them back to the era of the immediate past administration, where the social investment program was just for providing some stipends to some households, which most Nigerians felt that it is a waste of resources, because those monies, if they are channeled towards beefing up the economy, at least used to address the issue of inflation, so that the prices of food items will come down, and then inject this money into certain aspects of the economy, it would have actually helped in improving than to just say 12 million people take 8,000. It still amounts to nothing. Although time will not really allow us to actually, we would have gone to our comment section to bring out certain comments by Nigeria, and then you see how they feel. But we're already behind time. And of course, I think this is actually a continuous process, because this topic is not one to discuss for a day. It is a topic that is ongoing until the issue of palliatives is properly addressed. But I think we should draw the curtain for today's edition of The Big Issue. And of course, before we go, I would like to thank our in-house analyst, James, for addressing the big issue.
Thank you, George.
And of course, I won't fail to thank you, our viewers, for keeping tab with us. And of course, I will say you will always be our guest, because without you, there will be no me being here. Thank you. And of course, I will say you have a very wonderful weekend. Join us same time next Monday for another edition of The Big Issue. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
My people, I wan give una small tiny-winny informate. Abeg, as una dey watch this program, make una take time dey share am, make other people dey see wetin dey happen for this country. Abeg, no watch am alone. Press that button wey dey write SHARE. Share. Abeg, share this program so that other people go fit watch wetin you dey watch, wetin you dey enjoy. Thank you.